Alright, welcome to this video on how to create a teleport system within the core editor. This is what we're going to build today. Walk into the teleport and it beams you to your final destination. Now, one thing different about my teleport is when you walk into it, it will lock the player so you cannot move until the teleport has finished, and then you're free to move again. Alright, so let's get started building this. So the first thing we want to do is we want to create a new project, create an empty project, and I'm going to use third person, and let's just call it teleport tutorial. And this gives us a blank canvas to start with. So over in my hierarchy, I'm going to right click and I'm going to create a new group, and I'm going to call it teleport. And then there's some things that we want to put within this teleport. So we're going to need a trigger, and we're going to need that magic ring that we walk into. So let's go to our effects, find your core content, and inside the core content look for effects, click on effects, and then we're going to look for, scroll down until you find Magic Circle Sci-Fi. That's the one I like. We're going to stick that as a child inside teleport group as well. Alright, so now we have a trigger to walk into and a cool graphic to make us to make the players know that this is going to be a teleport. A few more things we're going to need is a script. So click up here and create a new script, and we're going to say teleport. Let's do script, and this will save somewhere over in your project content. Now you need to find it over in your project content under my scripts, and you're going to want to drag that right on top of the trigger. Alright, now a few more things we're going to need. Let's right click and make a new folder, and this one is going to say start. Let's do start effects, and then we're going to right click and make another new folder, call this end effects, and this is going to be the animation and sound that plays while our player is being teleported. So let's come over here to audio, and let's look for magic, let's see, what's it called? Magic designed teleportation. I'm gonna click this so I can see him better. Magic designed teleportation blink 1. That's the one I want to use for my end. And then small gone. So magic design teleportation small gone is what I want to use for my start. So I'm just dragging these over and dropping them in as a child to these two effects folders. And then before we forget, let's go ahead and click autoplay. So click on the audio, come down to the properties window and find autoplay, and then make sure that's checked on both of them. That way when we spawn this into the world while we're teleporting, it'll automatically start playing and we don't have to deal with that in code. Alright, so then the effects that we need are beam up. So come over here back to your core content. Let's look for magic, I think it is. No, let's look under effects. Yeah, we're in effects. My bad. Effects and magic. Let's just look for beam. Yeah, this is what we want. So beam up. So beam up will be the start. Beam me up, Scotty. And beam down will be the end effects. Pretty cool. All right. One thing I learned is you can see these effects in the game, but if you're on a server, you have to do a little trick here in order to get these to show up. So we do need to make them all networked. Teleport, we're going to right click and we're going to say enable networking. Click OK. Click OK. And then start effects, we're going to say create network content. So we're going to do new client context containing this. And then we're going to do the same thing for end effect. Where is it? Create new context containing this. All right. And then what we also want to do is right click on it and enable networking. So this will be client networked. And then I guess we could go ahead and, do we want to change the name? Let's change the name. I believe this one's start, right? Yeah. So let's just call this one start. And let's call this one finish or end. That way we can tell them apart. And then we're going to right click on them. Pick one, right click on start, and then we're going to create a template from this. And same thing with the other one, right click, create a new template from this. Boom. So now you'll see them over in your project content. You've got a start client and an end client, and we don't need them over here anymore. We're going to delete these. So delete and delete. And then let's go to our script. So click on the script, highlight the script, and we're going to create some custom properties over here so that we can use these effects, okay? So let's add a custom property and asset reference, and let's call it start effects. And let's add another one, asset reference end effects. And then click on trigger. It's the box that you see. If you don't see the box, you can click on V. That turns on your gizmo visibility on and off. It's a box right now. I want to make it a sphere. So I'm going to click sphere, and then I'm going to size this up a little bit. So I'm going to click my scale. I'm going to grab the white center here. I'm just going to size that up a little bit bigger. Let's just do something like that. Okay? That's better. Let's save this and play, and obviously right now it doesn't do anything. Let's move the spawn point away from there, so when we spawn in we don't land right on it. And then one other thing we're going to need is we're going to need a final position, right? So let's just go into our objects. Let's go into basic shapes, and let's just find a basic shape. Anything will do. I'm just going to grab a cube, drag it in, and I'm going to give it a color so it's easier to see. So let's go over to our materials. Close this. Where's materials at? Materials. I'm just going to pick one. So it's blue. Now we can see it. Let's rename this object. Click on the object. Let's rename it to final position. All right. And then let's drag that. If it's not already in your teleport, let's drag it into the teleport as well. And yes, we want to make it networked. So all our children inside of trigger, inside of teleport, will be networked. All right, and so this is going to be, we're going to walk into here, and then we're going to spawn to here. All right. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is on our final position, we want to make sure game collision is forced off. And we want to make sure we set our Z to 0. Some objects will have their reference point, their anchor point in the center, and some will have it on the bottom. If you choose an object like this as your final point, it's on the bottom, so you won't have to do this. But since we chose a cube, our anchor point is 50 above the ground, so we want to make this 0. Okay, so that way when our character spawns into the position of this, he's on the floor and not 50 above the floor, if that makes sense. Okay. But anyways, we want it to be 0 instead of 50, okay? And then moving on, let's go back to the teleport script. So now we want to drag final position down and make it a reference. And we want to come over to our project content and my templates, and then we want to grab our end client and drag it over to end effects, grab our start client, drag it over to start effects, and we want to make one more. Nope, we don't want asset. We want to make one more custom property. We're going to make it a Boolean, and we're going to call it hide final position. And that's going to allow us in development when we play our game to either hide this when we play or show it when we play. Okay? So right click over here and select all and then copy. And then let's open up our script. And you're going to paste it in the script. Okay? So it's not going to be here, and you're going to paste it in the script, and then you're going to rename it to start teleport, end teleport final position, and hide final position, okay? And you can pause this now and copy this if you want. I just figured it'd be faster to go ahead and paste this in rather than me type all of it out. And this will be available on GitHub as well. So let's save this. If you want, type it all out, pause the video. When you're finished, come back, or you can grab it from my GitHub. And then let's see what happens. So we're going to play the game, and we're going to walk into the teleport. We're going to have the fancy effect, and then we're going to show up at the final position. Now, like I said, if we don't want this cube in here, right? Say, let's move the cube way over here, but we don't want to see it anymore. All we got to do is go into our script and click hide final position, and that's going to make that cube disappear. So we can teleport. And this is how you're going to want it in the game. You want to check that in the game. And there we go. Okay, so let's explain some of this code, and then we'll wrap things up. So obviously, this is just a reference to all our game objects in the world. This is a reference to our trigger. Basically, our script is the child of the trigger, and trigger is our parent. So if we want to get the trigger, we just say script.parent. Okay? And if hide final position is checked, basically, if hide final position is true, so if hide final position is true, which is checked, means it's true, we're going to final position, which is the object that we're spawning to. Final position visibility will be forced off, okay? And then on trigger begin overlap event, when the player goes into the trigger, it's going to connect and connect this function on begin overlap, which is here, and it's going to go ahead and call this function, and this code will execute. So as soon as the player walks into the trigger, this event will happen. It'll connect our begin overlap and start this code. So this code gets two references. It gets a trigger, and it gets what walks into the trigger. You can name these anything. I named mine the trigger, and I named this one the player, because we expect it to be a player. But we want to check to make sure that it is a player, because if it's bullets or AI or something else going into this to the teleport, we don't want to teleport that. We only want to teleport players. So we say if player is a actual player, then do this. Oops. And so we wait 0.2 seconds. When we hit that trigger, if we didn't have that wait 0.2 seconds, the player would just stop, like at the edge of the trigger, at the edge of that circle. We don't want to do that. We want to wait till the player gets kind of somewhat inside of the circle before we start all this. So we wait 0.2 seconds. And then we spawn in audio and effects, okay? And I'm spawning it in onto the player, and basically 98 points below the player, so that it doesn't spawn in the middle of his body. If you don't have this part of it, it spawns in the middle of his body. I want it to spawn at his feet, so this allows it to spawn at his feet, the effects. And then we take the player and we turn off his movement so he can't move anymore. We wait 0.23 seconds because the 0.23 seconds is how long it takes to actually play this effect, okay? So we play the effect, and we're waiting for the effect to finish before we actually spawn the player into his new position. So we get player, set world position, and we get the final position, which is that square cube, and we get the position of it, and then we set the player to be at that position. This just creates it so he doesn't spawn on the floor. He spawns where his feet are on the floor. And then we get the world asset. We're going to spawn the end teleport function. So we've arrived at our destination and we're spawning the last animation. This doesn't need to be there. We can delete that. We wait another 2.4 seconds for the animation to finish, and then we allow the player to move again. Okay? Yeah, that's it. Let's show it one more time. I hope you liked the video. Please like, subscribe, and leave any comments if there's anything I can explain better, or if there's anything you want to see in the future for video ideas. Let me know, and I'll do my best to get them to you. Okay, thanks.